All right, you modern humans. This video covers the rise of the Labour Party and preps us for the first full socialist speech given in the British House of Commons. This is Speaking Through the Ages, where we bring back the dead in an attempt to bring out the values, beliefs, and internal struggles of those humans that came before. We give context to and deliver historical speeches that motivated people to kill, riot, make salt, and sign papers. I'm Joseph Delisle, your novice history fan. To join us, subscribe and click the bell for notifications. Now, let's traverse the birth of working class power from the People's Charter to the Labour Party candidates. In 1845, Friedrich Engels wrote a book titled The Conditions of the Working Class in England. He argued that the working class is worse off than before the Industrial Revolution. Engels showed large industrial city mortality rates from disease and sickness were 4 times higher than in rural areas. The overall death rate in Manchester and Liverpool was significantly higher than the national average, approximately 1 in 30 as compared to 1 in 45. But of course, this was not news to the people on the ground. From the depths of Great Britain, ideas of wealth equality started to emerge. And by 1838, the first step towards social equality took its strides, with the goal of increasing its political sway. The labor class launched the political movement known as Chartism. The name Chartism is derived from the People's Charter of 1838, which was signed by 1.3 million working people and hand-delivered to the House of Commons. However, by a large majority, the members of Parliament decided to ignore the charter flat out. The petition was never heard on the floor because it was never entered on the docket. The people tried again in 1840 with 3 million signatures. They were rejected. They tried again in 1848. Rejected. Regardless of the failures, these attempts were setting precedent. The People's Charter and Chartism set the tone for democracy in the 19th century. They called for many reforms, like the expansion of the voting power to every 21-year-old man, annihilation of the property qualifications, and the establishment of equal districts with less populous areas having the same weight as larger ones. The Chartism movement was one of the first to start calling for more equitable distributions of income and better working conditions. In other words, social change. The people were asking the government to step up and start taking ownership of these problems. As Chartism pressured the United Kingdom's government, crop failure all across Europe increased hardship on the working and peasant classes. Feeling cornered, the European people revolted against their monarch governments in 1848. Over 50 countries were affected, including France, Germany, Belgium, and Sweden. This widespread anarchy caused the UK a great deal of concern. However, they did not have a revolution of their own. If one is allowed to speculate, it's probably because there was already peaceful progress toward change. And they already had a representative government that passed a number of laws. Laws like the First Reform Act of 1832, which redistricted and organized all old haphazard boroughs and increased the electorate from 400,000 to about 650,000. This meant that a whopping 1 in 5 adult males were eligible to vote. Within the first 2 years of the Great Famine, 1848 to 1846, Parliament repealed the Corn Laws, which put high tariffs on imported foods and grains. And both parties were introduced a number of reform bills. The Liberal government introduced some in 1852, 1854, 1860, and 1866. The Conservative government introduced some in 1859 and 1867. It wasn't until this last attempt that a bill was actually passed. When members of Parliament were debating the Second Reform Act of 1867, massive protests were organized by the Reform League. Fearing revolt, the Conservative government passed a bill expanding voting rights to all male heads of household. So even though reform didn't happen right away, progress was in the air. Traditionally, the working class worked through the current political parties, the Conservative Party and the Liberal Party. But now, the seeds were sown for something more. The Liberal Party supported social reform, personal liberty, and free trade, and opposed things like the Crown and Church of England. Many viewed the Liberal Party as the natural allies of the working class. In 1869, the Labor Representative League formed to register and mobilize eligible working class voters and candidates for the Liberal Party. In 1870, the trade unions and the Liberal Party supported a series of working class candidates, and within 2 years of its founding, a democratic socialist society known as the Fabian Society aligned itself with the Liberal Party. This alignment of the trade unions and the social candidates supported by the Liberal Party was known as the Lib-Lab candidates. However, the Labor and Socialist candidates started to get upset with the pace of progress and being treated as a second priority on the Liberal Party agenda. Then a new era of socialists and union-supported candidates started to entertain the idea of a separate, independent Labor Party. In 1892, 3 working men were elected without support from the major parties of the time, one of which was Kier Hardie, who, being free from the change of the mainstream parties, was overtly critical and confrontational in Parliament. And this caused him to emerge as a champion for the labor movement. And it was Kier Hardie who delivered the first full socialist speech inside the House of Commons. But before we get to that, let's cover Kier Hardie's bio in the next video. Thanks for exploring the ages with us. In this video, we covered Chartism and the rise of the Labour Party in the UK. Throughout speaking through the ages, we'll encounter different countries, cultures, and histories. We'll cover more detail and reveal little by little as each speech requires. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And remember, if you liked this video, be sure to subscribe and click the bell for notifications. Or leave comments to correct any errors, exaggerations, or perfunctory explanations this novice history fan gets wrong. See you next time, where the dead teach.